Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going on an absolutely incredible, ingredient-led journey across an entire subcontinent's morning menu. Seriously, if you think you know what breakfast looks like, prepare to have your perspective totally shifted.
Okay, so right off the bat, let's look at this bold statement straight from our source material. After seeing this video, probably you won't skip breakfast in India. It honestly sets the perfect stage for our culinary exploration today. We're not just talking about grabbing a quick, on-the-go bite. We're talking about a daily morning ritual that is incredibly rich, diverse, and just deeply, deeply rooted in local culture.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start by looking at the sheer scale of Indian breakfasts, then dive into the actual science behind regional flavors. From there, we'll journey through the rice and fermentation belt, head up to the mountains for wheat and millets, explore some sweet, savory, and island fusions, and finally, bring it all together. Let's just jump right in.
To kick things off, we really need to wrap our heads around the mind-boggling scale of what we're analyzing today. Because when we talk about Indian cuisine, we're actually talking about a massive, interconnected web of micro-cuisines.
Just look at these numbers, 28 and 8. We're looking at traditional breakfasts spanning 28 distinct states and 8 union territories. And because of this massive scale, our sources are very clear on one thing. There is no single official database or book that lists every traditional breakfast. The overarching theme here? There is absolutely no such thing as a single Indian breakfast. It simply doesn't exist. Now you might be wondering, how are we mapping all this out? Well, what's really cool is how this data was pulled. We aren't just guessing based on local restaurant menus, we're relying on rigorous official sources, like the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, the government's One District, One Product portal, and the Bharat Skills Food and Beverage Manual. We even tapped into massive academic data sets like Indori, alongside official regional tourism boards. So this is a highly validated, data-backed look at a nation's breakfast table.
All right, let's shift gears a bit and look at the scientific why behind what actually ends up on the breakfast plate. Like, why does someone in the north wake up to something totally different than someone in the south?
So a crucial piece of the puzzle comes from Jain and colleagues' 2015 academic research on regional cuisines. They basically explain that a region's food isn't just about some random cultural preference. Actually, the diversification is directly dictated by the specific geography, the climate, and the agriculture of that area. Think of the local environment as the ultimate head chef. It determines exactly what crops thrive and, consequently, what ends up in your morning meal.
And when you zoom out and map these agricultural ingredients across all 36 regions, these striking macro patterns just pop right out. Notice how rice totally dominates the south and east, while wheat is the undisputed morning staple of the north and west. Drier regions, they lean heavily on millets. Meanwhile, the southern states are famous for these brilliant fermented and protein-rich morning meals. It's really a perfect visual summary of how agricultural patterns shape our culinary traditions.
So, let's dive into our first major ingredient category and see how this builds our understanding of the South and East, where rice and some truly fascinating fermentation techniques run the show. Look at how southern states utilize fermentation and protein to create these incredibly iconic dishes. I mean, think about your standard morning toast and then contrast it with this. Over in Kerala, you have puttu, these beautiful steamed rice cylinders powered by a rich black chickpea curry called kadala. In Andhra Pradesh, you've got pesaratu, which is this highly nutritious, protein-packed green gram dosa paired with a zesty ginger chutney. And of course, Tamil Nadu gives us one of India's absolute most famous breakfasts, that holy trinity of soft, fermented idlis, crispy dosas, and medu vada. Now, as we move over to the east and northeast, rice remains absolutely central, but the preparation completely transforms. This is beautifully showcased in Assam's jolpan, a traditional breakfast that combines flattened rice, curd, and jaggery, which is often accompanied by pitha rice cakes during festivals. Then over in Meghalaya, rice-based meals still dominate, featuring dishes like pumaloi, which is simply and beautifully steamed rice. It's the exact same core ingredient as the South, but the geographic interpretation is a whole different ballgame.
Right, let's drastically change our scenery. We're heading to the Indo-Gangetic Plains and the soaring, freezing altitudes of the north, where wheat, millets, and warmth take center stage.
Just notice the extreme culinary contrast here. Up in the freezing Himalayan regions, breakfast relies heavily on dairy, hearty grains, and warming noodle soups like dukpa or millet-based zaan. Contrast that directly with the tropical coasts and islands, where mornings are brightened up with seafood and coconut. It's a striking example of how extreme climate differences create completely opposite breakfast cultures, all within the exact same national borders.
Back down in the plains, wheat absolutely rules the morning. This gives us these incredibly iconic, energy-dense dishes that were historically meant to fuel long days of hard physical work. Take Punjab's legendary aloo paratha, for instance, a thick potato-stuffed flatbread traditionally topped with homemade white butter, or makka, and washed down with a tall glass of lassi. Haryana offers similar hearty stuffed parathas, while Bihar brings us the highly nutritious sattu paratha, where the wheat bread is packed with roasted gram flour.
But what happens when you go up into the highest altitudes? Well, the freezing climate demands warming, incredibly hardy grains. Wheat is often swapped out for whatever grows best in the cold. This results in amazing local specialties, like Ladakh's kambir, which is this robust barley bread served with traditional butter tea, or Uttarakhand's mandua roti, a traditional mountain bread made entirely from finger millet. The environment dictates the grain, and the grain defines the breakfast.
Okay, let's move on to some regions that love to mix complex flavor profiles in the morning, along with some highly unique coastal and island fusions that you might not expect.
What I find so fascinating here is how expertly Western and Eastern states balance sweet and savory. Because honestly, who doesn't want an excuse to eat dessert for breakfast, right? In Gujarat, weekends and festivals mean eating savory fafda right alongside sweet, syrupy jalebi. In Madhya Pradesh, specifically Indore, they've made poha jalebi internationally famous, flattened rice topped with crunchy sev, eaten alongside sweet jalebi. And over in West Bengal, it's a classic pairing of puffy, fried luchi bread with a slightly sweet lentil dish called cholar dal. It's basically a masterclass in flavor contrast.
And down by the water, history and ocean bounty just completely collide in spectacular fashion. In Goa, you'll find local whole wheat poi bread served with a rose omelette, a famous street breakfast completely smothered in curry. Puducherry offers a unique culinary fusion where traditional Tamil idli sits perfectly alongside French bread. And way out in the Union Territory of Lakshadweep, the island cuisine gives us an unbelievable morning meal of tuna curry and coconut dishes. The ocean is literally on the breakfast plate.
As we bring this explainer to a close, there's one final, absolutely crucial piece of context we need to establish about everything we've looked at today.
Our sources are very careful to note what they call the rule of representation. You see all these iconic dishes we just explored, the poha jalebi, the putu kadala, the aloo paratha, they are representative highlights. They're the heavy hitters, the most widely recognized dishes. But we always have to remember the endless, hyper-local complexity that exists. Eating habits in India vary not just by state, but by specific district, individual community, and even the changing of the seasons.
So, after exploring this vast, geography-driven menu, from the warming barley breads of the freezing Himalayas to the spiced tuna curries of the tropical islands, I just have to ask, with 36 distinct regional traditions out there waiting to be explored, which of these incredible culinary awakenings will you be waking up to tomorrow?